For over 1,000 years, nearly 1,000 stone faces stared out at the Pacific Ocean, and no one living knew why they were really built. On a remote island, smaller than Manhattan, sitting alone in the vastness of the South Pacific, something extraordinary happened in the shadows of human history. The Rapa Nui people, whom we now call the Easter Islanders, carved massive stone figures from volcanic rock and positioned them with deliberate precision, facing inward toward their settlements rather than outward to the sea. For centuries, archaeologists misunderstood this choice, assuming the Moai were meant to gaze across the water toward distant ancestors. They were wrong, and that misunderstanding cost us nearly 200 years of missing the real story. Between roughly 1,200 and 1,500 CE, the Rapa Nui people entered a period of intense cultural flourishing. They had arrived on their island, probably from Polynesia, several centuries earlier, and by this time they developed a sophisticated society with distinct social classes, deep spiritual beliefs, and remarkable engineering knowledge. The island, though isolated, was not forgotten or ignored. It was chosen, deliberately inhabited, and shaped by human hands in ways that speak to ambition and reverence. Yet what the islanders built during this golden age carried a secret they themselves would eventually lose. The Moai themselves are staggering in scale. The average figure stands around 13 feet tall, though some tower over 30 feet, their bodies carved with anatomical precision, slender torsos, long ears, dignified postures. Each one required months of labor to extract from the volcanic quarry, then transport across rough terrain using techniques we're only now beginning to fully understand. The islanders didn't have wheels, didn't have beasts of burden, yet they moved stone giants across their landscape, with a certainty that suggests deep knowledge and unwavering commitment to a purpose. Here's where the story bends away from what most people believe. The Moai weren't watching the ocean. They were watching the people. Archaeological evidence, accumulated slowly over decades, reveals that these statues faced the settlements, the ceremonial centers, the places where the living gathered. They were monuments to mana, a Polynesian concept meaning spiritual power, prestige, and ancestral connection. A family or clan would commission a Moai, and in doing so, they announced their status to the world. Each statue was a voice in stone. But here's what the islanders didn't yet know, even as they carved and positioned their monuments with meticulous care. Their world was about to change in ways that would erase the meaning of their greatest achievement. By around 1,500 CE, though the exact date remains uncertain, the social order began to fracture. Whether due to resource depletion, climate shifts, or internal conflict, the careful balance that had sustained their civilization started to collapse. The very structures that had brought them together as a unified culture would become symbols of division. Warfare erupted between different clans, each competing for dwindling resources and prestige. In a heartbreaking reversal, the very Moai that had once united communities became targets. Statues were deliberately toppled, their coral eyes removed, their bodies broken. Some historians call this period the collapse, and the term carries real weight. It marks a moment when the islanders' own achievements became weapons against each other. Yet even in this chaos, the Moai remained, silent witnesses to a transformation nobody, controlling it, truly understood. By the time European contact arrived in 1722, more than 2 centuries later, the cultural knowledge surrounding the Moai had been largely forgotten. The people living on Easter Island at that moment couldn't fully explain why their ancestors had built them or what the statues had originally meant. They knew fragments of the story, oral traditions passed down through generations of upheaval, but the complete picture had dissolved like mist. The Europeans who arrived saw only mysterious ruins and puzzled over their purpose, never realizing they were looking at a civilization's memory made tangible. Modern archaeology has pieced together what the islanders themselves had lost. The Moai were never meant to be mysterious. They were meant to be understood immediately by anyone who saw them. They announced lineage, spiritual power, and connection to the ancestors. When you stood before a Moai, you were supposed to feel the presence of those who came before and recognize the living person or family who had commissioned it. The statues were a language written in stone, and for 1,000 years, the people of Rapa Nui read that language fluently. What moves us most, perhaps, is the realization that the Moai's greatest achievement wasn't their construction, it was their persistence. Even after being toppled, broken, and forgotten, they remained. They weathered centuries of neglect, European contact, colonization, and tourism. Today, many have been restored and carefully studied, their original positions documented, their purposes slowly revealed. They stand once more as guardians, not of the ocean, but of a story about human creativity, ambition, and the fragile nature of cultural memory. The Moai teach us something quiet but profound, that the things we build to commemorate ourselves may outlast the meaning we give them. The islanders carved their achievements into stone, certain that their descendants would understand. Instead, the descendants faced their own struggles, and the language of the Moai fell silent. Yet in that silence, there is also grace. The statues waited. They waited through centuries of forgetting, and when we finally came with curiosity and care, they were still there, ready to speak again. Subscribe to this channel for more gentle explorations of history's quieter mysteries, the stories that whisper rather than shout, waiting patiently for us to finally listen. Subscribe to this channel for more gentle explorations of history's quieter mysteries, the stories that whisper rather than shout, waiting patiently for us to finally listen.